Welcome to the channel. This is going to be my review slash overview slash whatever you want to call it about season 2, episode 6 of the streaming TV series on Apple Plus TV. Definitely worth a watch. If you don't have an Apple TV subscription, I would say wait until this show is finished for the season and then get a free preview and binge to see it because it's well worth it. It's much better than most garbage on some of the other streaming services and on TV. So we're up to season 2, episode 6. We got last week the capture of the head of supply, the escape of Knox and Shirley from their framing by Bernard for killing the judge, and in Silo 17, Jules ultimately, though sick from an infection, does find her helmet that she needs to try to incorporate into the firefighting suit to get back to Silo 8 and stop the people from leaving, which is what happened in Silo 17. All right. So again, this episode, like most of the other ones, has been divided into Silo 17 activities, Silo 18 sort of mechanical, now back at the bottom, also mixed with the sheriff down in that area, and then Bernard and what he's trying to do to stifle knowledge from getting out to various people. So we'll start off with Silo 18 and the mechanical section. So the barricade's back up, even though it sort of went down temporarily, allowing Walker to slip through. But now it's better, and it's stopping the supplies from getting through. Knox takes Shirley down to assembly, where he sees his friend, and basically his friend's been making weapons just for Knox. He hasn't made weapons for anybody else, but he's made them for Knox. So what we get is them looking at the weapons that have been made for them and plotting how they're going to handle the situation that they have now, which is, potentially they're in deep trouble because their food source has been cut off by Bernard in a means of controlling them, basically. Um, Give me a second here. Oops. Okay. So, yeah, they um, assemble or start putting on some of the armor and going up to the barricade to stand on it on their side and let people go back in. Basically, they found that all the food that they'd been receiving has been cut off by this barricade as Bernard again tries to starve them out. And what little food they have, somebody sprinkled rat poison on it, which means that they have a traitor in their midst. But when the people start whining about the food going away and what they're going to do and all this kind of stuff, Walker steps in to stop sort of this unrest, basically telling them that they're doing exactly what Bernard wants. The mechanical doesn't do this kind of thing. They share, they work together, whatever, and that stops it. As well as they do get a shipment of food because people have been throwing food down the recycler refuge chute. Basically, we saw in the first episode of the season that Jules at one time worked on that line, picking out stuff that they thought they could use because it wasn't everything thrown down the chute wasn't no good. So temporarily the food riots are put down because people are able to eat, but they have concerns about what they're going to do when this food runs out. Bernard does find out about it and says he's going to put raiders at every chute, so that'll stop this means of them getting any food. Um, Lucas is starting to also, he's under Bernard's instructions. He's starting to get a bit more into what potentially is on the hard drive. So Bernard tells him he's got a reprieve from the mines for another day to continue to work on this. Um, when Mechanical shows up at the barrier with their own weapons and armor, the raiders call for guns, basically. And the it, they also get or Mechanical gets a saw and cuts through the floor to get sort of around or in a better situation to come after the barricade. Ultimately, they tie a winch to the barricade and pull it down and surge up the stairs with the raiders turning tail and running until they get to a certain level where they stand firm and the guns that they have ordered shows up. So Mechanical reluctantly says, well, let's set the new barricade here on 120, um, which is drives Bernard a little bit goofy because he was trying to starve them out. And if the barricade's at 120, there's a farm on 122, so that takes away any threat of them being starved out. But Lucas's progress, uh, Bernard realizes that he's limited by his knowledge, so Bernard makes Lucas his shadow as director of IT, so he can see what is the legacy. We don't know what the legacy is, but there's some thought that seeing this information might help Lucas determine more information on this fractured hard drive. Also in Silo 18 is the sheriff, and he's um, getting a doctor to help the bomber or the guy that threw the Molotov cocktail because he won't give information unless he's looked at properly. Um, when the bullet's taken out, Billings had shown him a page that he'd ripped out of a book that was an offense for him to even have, but it shows like beaches and stuff like that. The bomber tells Billings that the snippet of video that Jules tried to get on the guy to put on all the computers was better even than the book, which starts putting doubt in the minds of the sheriff that he's being told, or what he's being told is bullshit. So he tells Bernard he's not going to hand over Knox and Shirley until he opens a investigation, at which point Bernard kills all the radios that the sheriffs use because he doesn't want the remaining sheriff to hear that he has lost Billings. So um, things are getting worse for Bernard in the silo, and he's getting more desperate, which is not a good thing for Mechanical. Uh, Over in Silo 17, Jules wakes up. She's been healed by Solo, but Solo, when she asks Solo where her suit is, he says that it's safe, but he's not going to give it back until she fixes a pump. And that is the end of the episode. But it's another good episode. Again, well acted, stories building towards what we think the conclusion will be Jules getting back to Silo 18 to stop, or hopefully stop people from going outside. But you can see how the story is building every week. The tensions. Bernard is getting more and more stressed, trying to control things. He keeps fucking up, basically. He may be following some book or something telling him to do this and do that, but there's lots of dumb mistakes that he's made that of course, for the interest of the series, we want to see him make the dumb mistakes, but ultimately he's alienating all his supporters, and people are just left, right, not believing him anymore, which is, again, part of the problem in Silo 17 had that forced people outside. So by eroding the people's trust in him and institutions, basically, these making them more and more likely for them to make this fatal mistake to go outside. He's following this book. You can see here the order. They've called it some other names too. I can't remember what it is at the moment, but it's a set of instructions that the founders gave to them, and it's supposed to cover everything that they could possibly encounter. So, anyways, that's it. Again, another very good episode. Highly recommend this series. Highly recommend this series. Um, so I've really enjoyed it, and it is very faithful to the books. So if you're concerned about not following the books, they've kept most of the story. They've added a few things that's not in the books, or I can't remember them being in the books. It's been a while since I've read them. Well, whenever the first series was over a year ago. But they've made some changes, maybe to make it more interesting, maybe to follow their story, but they're not changing things in a drastic way. It does follow the book, and it's an interesting story, and you can see the tensions building each episode. You know, you're seeing how more desperate Bernard is to stop things. More emboldened the mechanics are to get to the truth, and more desperate Jules is to get back to Silo 18 to try to save people. So, you know, you don't see, you look at some of the stuff that's on Disney, and I really like Star Wars stuff, but the garbage that they put there, just none of it made sense. No tension, no building of anything. This is 180 degrees. It's a very good show, and I highly recommend it. So that's the end of it. I'll have an episode 7 review up in the next couple of days. That's the latest one that's dropped. There'll be another one, episode 8, um, on Friday. We're probably getting near the end for the series. I'm not sure how many episodes. Probably 10, maybe 11, 12 maximum. Um, but yeah, it's getting close to the end, and we kind of know what the climax is going to be if you've been following. It's the people ultimately battling Bernard to get control of the silo. That's what's coming unless Jules can get there and calm everything down. Okay? Thanks for stopping by.